Hello, book lovers. I'm Peg, and welcome to my channel. I am still visiting my wonderful family in Missouri today, and this is the last day. Tomorrow I'll be heading east, flying east, back to my own little reading room, but I've had a great time with family. I want to thank you all for the kind words you had for Brian and Nathan and their home and everything. They really enjoyed. We all enjoyed making it together as a family, and they got so many. They had so much fun. They're thinking about maybe starting a little channel of their own. So I'll keep you informed on that. I'm actually don't have that much family, but I'm in the rest of the family's house, and they're all great readers. And when I say that, it actually is a pun, because all these people that you've met, their last name actually is Reader, as was mine before I elected to take my husband's last name. But I'm still a reader at heart. Okay, so today we are at my brother and sister-in-law's house. These are the parents and parents-in-law of Nathan and Brian, and the loving grandparents of their 3 children and 2 other grandchildren with their other son's family. And they're, I think, almost retired. Tim and Pam are. They are trying to retire. A little bit about them. They are both professional musicians. They met in college when they were both music majors, and after they graduated, they formed their little duo of their own. They both had started out teaching music, but have ended up in other professions. Tim, my brother, his career has been more in the technical and aviation fields, but he does still play his beloved French horn and participates in several local orchestras and bands. So he keeps his mouth, I guess you would say, in there. Anyway, Pam, my sister-in-law, she's a reader too, in more ways than one, has ended up as the director of the college library at the local college where we live. So she has a lot of good book stories and funny stories about professors and college students and their use of the library too. But anyway, they both have lots of stories. But today I've asked them just to come on briefly and talk a little bit about what they like to read. So without further ado, here is my younger brother, Tim.
Yes, your much younger brother, Tim. Hello. I am a avid reader, as my name would suggest, and as Peggy probably has suggested. My interests lie mostly in political and legal thrillers. But I recently read the first 3 books of a 4-book series by Michael Grumley, which delves heavily into the science fiction world, and I'd like to recommend those to you. The reason I've only read 3 rather than all 4 at this point is that this is a beautiful time of the year in Missouri, and it's the time of year we go outside and take care of lawn, garden, and all the things we need to do before winter sets in. Anyway, Michael Grumley has a 4-book series. The first book is called Breakthrough. The second one is Leap. The third is Catalyst. And the final, and as far as I am concerned, the unread finale is called Ripple. The books all have a unique weave to them where we get a little bit of everything, including technical computer communication with higher thinking animals, the mammals, apes, and dolphins, and it plays very heavily into the length of the thing. They are long books, but if you enjoy that type of thing, I think it'd be well worth your time and effort to do that. With that, I'd turn the camera over to my wife, Pam.
Hello, everybody. I'm Pam, and I've had a long career as a librarian, almost 30 years. But I was just telling Peg that I'm really not a nonfiction fan, and in a college library, that's mostly what you collect is nonfiction. But I want to talk to you about my favorite things to read, and those are series books. I have some favorite authors who feature strong women protagonists, and I read everything that they write. Not and in order. I know Peg has talked about reading series not in order, but I don't do that. I have to read it in order. The latest one I've read is Sue Grafton's new book, Y is for Yesterday, and I started collecting her books a long time ago when she first came out. A is for Alibi, B is for Burglar, C is for Corpse. Now she's finished Y, and I understand that she is getting ready to start the last one in the alphabet series. Z is for Zero, very appropriately named. But her protagonist, Kinsey Milhone, is started out as an insurance investigator, and she ends up investigating murders and interesting things like that. And she's a very self-contained woman. She doesn't pretend to be anybody she's not. She has one dress that she wears wherever a dress is required, that she kind of keeps in her handbag, rolls out as necessary. So she's an interesting character. And those are set in the 20th century. So far, I haven't noticed that she's written a 21st century. It's usually back in the 1980s that Kinsey does her work. Another author that I really like is Jacqueline Winspear and her protagonist Macy Dobbs. Those are set in the aftermath of World War I, which is one of my favorite times to read about. Macy was a nurse in World War I in France, and she comes back to England and sets up her own detective agency. So there are a number of books about Macy now. Another one I like in that same era is Charles Todd. Charles Todd is a mother and son writing team, and they're Americans, but they write books that are set in England. And they have two different series. One is Ian Rutledge. He's a policeman, but Bess Crawford is the one that I really like. She is a young woman who volunteers as a nurse in the Army during World War I and ends up solving mysteries and saving lives. Anne Perry is another one. I read everything that she has written. This is one of her books that is a standalone series of 4. It's about World War I, and it's actually my favorite of all her writing. She has written things set in Victorian England featuring Thomas Pitt and Charlotte, and Charlotte is a very strong woman, but this particular series is about 2 brothers and their sister is a very strong woman who ends up driving an ambulance in World War I. So I highly recommend those. Those are excellent. And of course, it wouldn't be fair, in my opinion, to not mention an author that most women are familiar with from the time she wrote Harlequin novels until now, and that is Nora Roberts. And Nora Roberts, writing as J.D. Robb, has a series called In Death, and she's written a huge number of these, and these feature a woman protagonist, policewoman Eve Dallas, who very strong personality, and these are set in the future, about 2050. Lots of interesting things that happen then, body sculpting and cars that rise up in the air, and when the traffic is hard and rough and they fly off, and but it's mostly a really hardcore detective series. And I have to say there's some love interest in there too, and some scenes that if you're bothered by that sort of thing, don't read these because they're pretty explicit. I do want to show you the cover of Macy Dobbs here before I forgot to hold this up. There she is. This is the World War One female detective, and those are very much worth reading. So, hopefully, you will be interested in some of these series, and it's been wonderful to talk to you.